Oh yes, we absolutely must talk about dragons. Hello everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. And yes, today we are talking about dragons for changing up fantasy cultures, and we actually have a fair number of details on hand for you that should be helpful. But before we get into any of that, if you're new here to the channel, go on down there to hit the subscribe button and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on such a legendary roster, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. Help the channel to grow ever further. But now, let's go ahead and talk about us some dragons here. So, when it comes to dragons, what are some of the commonalities with them? Ancient, long-lived creatures, winged, scaled beasts with magical breath attacks. They hoard wealth and riches, typically in the form of treasures like coins and gems, but they're not limited to those things, but that's the most common, and that wealth tends to be stored and hoarded somewhere covered, usually subterranean in a great cave or cavern complex, so not only can the wealth stay secure, but the dragons stay secure as well. For as great and as mighty as they are, they're typically hunted by daring, bold, suicidal adventurers who want to try to not only take on the honor of bringing down a dragon themselves, but also to grab that vast accumulated wealth. So, those are the most common things, and depending on the setting, they may be tied to different religious figures, like the Forgotten Realms. You have Tiamat, Bahamut, evil dragon goddess and a good dragon god, and those dragons tend to be divided up on whether or not they're chromatic or metallic. So your gold, silver, bronze, copper dragons follow Bahamut, whereas your reds, greens, blues, blacks, and white dragons follow Tiamat. And depending on the setting, they might be switching to different deities, or those deities might go by different names, like in the Dragonlance series, in the Dragonlance Chronicles, Tiamat is Toxis. I apologize for mispronouncing the name. And then Bahamut, what did Bahamut go by? I remember Fizban. His mortal name was Fizban when he wandered the world. Wonderful wizard. Definitely often screaming about that tree leaping out to attack him. But anyways, the point is these different types of dragons get divided up to different deities, and that's probably the biggest thing you can change for dragons in your setting right there, is just entirely nixing, cutting out, or otherwise removing those religious ties. That frees you up a significant amount there, especially for the second step, which is to just end their color-based alignment. Red dragons don't have to be lawful evil. Gold dragons don't have to be lawful good. Removing those components, while it does feel a little strange at first, and just letting the dragons be individual beings with their own ideas, thoughts, and motivations, and with those alignment restrictions removed, actually can do a surprising amount. As for one thing, because no dragon is going to act consistently with its type or coloration, this means the players are going to have to do a little bit more research regarding these dragons, as individual dragons are going to have their own legends built up around them, their own histories, because these are long-lived creatures. These are creatures that have been around a long time. They're almost features of the geography as much as they are living beings. So that will do a great deal to change things up right there. The lack of religious component and lack of fundamental tie to any one alignment frees things up consistently. I'd still recommend keeping some sort of alignment on them. You know, this legendary great red dragon is a chaotic good creature, whereas the silver dragon has this arrogant tyrannical streak to them, believing them to be themselves to be superior to all of these lesser creatures. Dragonborn maybe get to be a step up closer to them, because Dragonborn half dragons even more so, because the half dragons are likely their offspring, but even still, these are still lesser non-full-blooded dragon creatures, so that arrogant streak still applies, and they still rule with just iron claws over all of these other lesser beings. All of that can come together to really make unique and interesting settings and presentations, because again, outside of setting specific requirements, like in the Forgotten Realms or Dragonlance, you can just end up doing so much by freeing yourself from those particular limitations. The other thing I would recommend is, since we're freeing ourselves from those old habits and traits, is to have some of your dragons take a much more direct role in the world. Like, for example, in my own high fantasy steampunk setting, this one that I've been running with the group of orcs not necessarily being evil, and dwarves, or at least dwarves from one particular region, having a history of being more lawfully evil and very cruel in their methodologies. I've got a dragon that's the CEO of a trade conglomerate, of a trade corporation, one of the first corporations to have come up, and they have a 98% stake in the company. 98% because that remaining 2% went out to get one or two partners, mortal partners that have a firm grasp and understanding of all of these different things to help teach and educate the dragon, and not only that, but to serve as representatives that go out and make deals with other mortal creatures and bring in more money and funds towards the company, thus increasing its hoard. Its hoard now also includes non-fungible, non-metallic stocks. It has stocks and ownership in the company, but it's still adding to its wealth that it's able to cash out here and there, receive dividends on, and put those dividends within its hoard. And so this opens up an interesting avenue where embezzlers are technically infringing on its hoard, and so it gets to go and try to deal with that. Maybe politely at first, but definitely ending in a very violent devouring as an example to everybody else. So that I like to think that's unique, interesting, and, well, I was going to say different, but then again, Shadowrun did the same thing with Lofwyr being the 100% owner of the corporation, a mega corporation, Saderkrupp. So, again, though, this is still, it's different enough and not done enough. You can have other things happen, like Imperial dragons, those Imperial dragons from Asiatic cultures, like particularly China. Why not have them take a direct role in setting up imperial dynasties and the like? All of these things are definitely possible and should be done. But what do you think? Go on down to the comments below and let me know your thoughts. Did you like today's video? Did you like the suggestions I made? Let me know and hit those like or dislike buttons, and we'll engage in discussion down below. And remember, if you're new here to the channel, go on down to hit the subscribe button and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. But with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.